righty. Welcome to a Saturday of Detroit in black and white. We're here at the Guardian Building in downtown Detroit, which if you ever get an opportunity to check out the lobby of the Guardian Building right at Griswold and Congress, you should take the opportunity. We've got Jim Nardone, the former police chief of Trenton. Welcome, Jim.
Good morning.
And we've got, my name's Allan Lengel from Deadline Detroit. And we also will be having Vanessa Moss any second now. She should be popping through the door. But anyways, we want to get down to it. So welcome to another episode of Detroit in Black and White. It seems we were just here last night. We had a show and we're back. Jim, any outrages of the week?
I have an outrage, but I think I want to wait until Vanessa gets here, if that's okay with you. Let's talk a little bit about the mayor's race.
Let me do a quick outrage.
You do your outrage then.
I'll do it.
Go right ahead.
Yeah. So I wanted to say what's happening with the FBI is just so preposterous with Kash Patel, who's just become a total stooge for the White House. Here's the latest. Besides that, last week he fired about a dozen agents. And most of them are getting letters saying, sorry, you don't comport with the loyalty to the administration, which we've never seen. I mean, I have covered the FBI for decades in various capacities at the Washington Post, Detroit News, Deadline Detroit, and I've never, ever seen anything like this. But the latest is an FBI agent was relieved of duty for declining to arrange a perp walk for James Comey, the former FBI director who's been charged with obstruction and lying to Congress. It's just ongoing. Like they're just trying to, endless humiliation of Trump's enemies. And it's, people say, who cares or whatever, but it matters. It's part of our whole justice system. And the justice system, when it breaks down, when there is no wall between the Justice Department or the FBI and the White House. I mean, it's tricky because the Attorney General is appointed by the president. You're a cabinet member, but at the same time, Janet Reno with Bill Clinton, she went after Bill Clinton. That was her job. Their duty is to the Constitution, not to the president ultimately. And the FBI director is an appointee of the president, but it was supposed to be a 10-year appointment to take away the politics that they didn't have to worry. So they went through, multiple. James Comey was originally, Bob Mueller was appointed,
Right.
In 2001 by Bush. He came in right before September 11th, but he was kept on, during the Obama administration. Yes, and that was the idea was that it not be political, and Trump fired Comey. Trump became president in January of 2017. He fired Comey, I think, like in June or something, or April of 2017. And then he fired Christopher Wray, who he had appointed to replace Comey. He, when it started, basically he was, I can't remember if he was fired or Wray may have stepped down knowing he was going to get fired, but I don't know. And the consistency, then the deputy director who had been the acting director stepped down right away. And so what we have is a lot of knowledge that, and that being in a police department, whether you're the chief, whether you're a new chief from another city or whatever, you've got a whole department with people with a lot of experience.
Yes, I want to talk about your point. I think it's really interesting. Hello, Karen. We need to overhaul our political and justice system. Good morning. Good morning, Deborah. Good morning, Derek Henry. Dwellia Boyce, good morning to you. Well, I think that the real challenge in this administration is he doesn't have anybody that tells him the truth, or he's not listening to the truth. Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, who is fawning over Donald Trump with this, we talked about a little bit this week about sending troops to all these cities. And that's where the Speaker of the House needs to come out and say, that's not our job. We are the House of Representatives. We're not approving money for the National Guard to be in Seattle or Portland or Chicago. We have a role here, and you're going down the wrong path, Mr. President, and we're going to stand between you and in these actions. And
Well,
there's
that's what
nobody
it's
to do
called.
that.
That's what I mean. We have three branches of government. We've got the executive branch, being the White House. We've got the congressional branch, being the Senate and Congress. And then we have the judiciary, being the courts. And there's supposed to be all the checks and balances. And we have, thankfully, to some degree, the court system is still a checks and balance, but Congress is no longer a checks and balance for the executive system. So it's all one and the same. But one of the interesting thing is, and I don't know if this figure is correct, but I had heard that it was costing $1 million a day to have the National Guard in DC.
I would say easy.
Yeah. And so, DC police are down. I've seen numbers of 500 cops, 900 cops. But imagine for that $1 million a day, how many officers you could get for a whole year to fill in. And let's say you get 900 new officers, you're going to be just as effective as the National Guard, who are standing around the mall in DC, standing around all the tourist areas. They're not even in, mostly they're not in the high crime areas of DC where you could really, where really there's gun. I mean, I was out there all the time. There was gunfire every night on certain blocks in DC, which shouldn't be normalized. And so I agree with, there should be a crisis. Crime should be looked at as a crisis, which I'll give credit to Trump for that, but the way it's being executed and addressed is not the proper way.
Thank you, Sanford, for your comment. Trump lies constantly, so does Christian. Mike Johnson, reality is irrelevant to this racist, fascist administration. Thank you. Kenneth Powell, like, share, do edutainment. Timothy, I totally agree with you. Karen Winston, Timothy's point is outrageous. How can people be allowed to raise money for the family of the man who killed and burned down the church in Grand Blanc? I was unaware of that. Thank you for your educating us on that point. And we'll talk about this all the time. We appreciate everybody that contributes to this show. As I said last night, we're kind of moderators. We like to share information. And just because we're here on the screen, everybody's an equal here. So we need to work together to solve all the world's problems. I think we're going to get it done here. Just kidding. And here's Vanessa Moss. I was going to take an early break so we could get.
Good morning. Listen, you know what we want y'all to do. We want you guys to like, subscribe, and share to the greatest show on the what? These YouTube streets, right?
It's because of
you guys. So like, share, subscribe. You can find us on all social media platforms every Wednesday and Friday evening from 8:30 to 9:30 p.m. and every Saturday morning. I'm a little delayed today. Something's going on downtown. I left thinking I had enough time to get here, but I don't know what's going on. Cars are parked everywhere.
There's construction. There's a lot of construction going on.
Oh my gosh. So at any rate, I had to.
Good morning, Cashmere in San Diego, sunny San Diego.
Doggone lot. I don't know how much money it's gonna cost me, but I saw $20 for one lot.
Oh boy,
that's ridiculous.
That's crazy.
Now, you're talking about outrage.
Although we've gotten spoiled in downtown Detroit. I mean, I've worked in downtown, a lot of my life, and it used to be like $5 parking, $6, but now, particularly for going to the football games, you can spend up to $50 or $60 more for parking. And so parking is really, sometimes I see it, and even to me, $15 parking, which really in a major city is not a lot, but in Detroit it is.
But I have the secret. If you're looking to park at the Detroit Lions game, it's a little bit of a walk. MGM Grand Casino, you can park for free. Go in and spend $10 in the machine or nothing,
Or the other really thing is, for free if you spend $10 on the machine.
Well, the other thing is, if you really want, you can park, and it's usually on a Sunday, so there's no street parking that you have to pay for. I mean, if you want to go up to Midtown, where further up and take the Q line, you can park for free and hop the Q line. The Q line's very efficient. It'll drop you off right near the stadium.
Are they charging for the Q line?
No, the Q line's free.
The Q line,
the people movers,
How long do you think that's gonna last?
Well, I don't know.
At the beginning of the year, we're gonna see a difference. It's been almost 2 years.
So the secret's out though on MGM Grand Casino. People park there, and for Lions games, but I encourage you to park there.
The same thing at Greektown. I mean, you can.
You have to have a membership card or something, don't you? I think you do have to have like a player's card.
Oh, really? Okay.
I think so.
Okay,
I'm not sure.
I know people were parking there, and then you take the people mover.
If there's somebody,
it'll take you to Grand Circus Park, and you can walk right over to the stadium.
Maybe somebody here has the information on Greektown, but I thought you needed a player's card to park for free. Do you have an outrage today? Tell us your outrage, because I
just talked about my outrage.
So that's it, parking?
Listen, I'm used to, that's my outrage. I'm used to getting on the people mover. Last weekend, I got on the people mover. I went to go see Gladys, Shaka, Stephanie, and Patti LaBelle. So
where was that at?
LCA. So I took the people mover to Grand Circus Park, got off, walked down the street, enjoyed the concert, went back home. Usually when I come here on Saturdays, I find somewhere to park and just, free. Right around the corner. So yeah, I'm outraged. I gotta pay $20 today.
I have a question for you.
$20. Hey, let's do a GoFundMe page for my parking.
Detroit Black and White. Take it out of the slush fund. There's like $4.25 in there. $4.24.
I mean, I parked on Congress. It's costs $2, and with the parking at $2.20 or something like that.
I put $3 in at this, so it was $3. I give us a little extra time.
Yeah.
So I want to know about Gladys, because I saw Gladys about 20 years ago, and I had kind of had a part-time job. It was more of a hobby at the Fox Theater, and she was better than everybody. She was better than everybody. She was 25 years old. She was
I saw her, I think it was last year at the Aretha Franklin Amphitheater. And it's just amazing how things can change within a matter of minutes. Her voice was wonderful, but she had when she walked out, there were two people, one on each side that walked her out. Her fit was fitting.
Right.
But she had on a stole. I'm like, is it when you get older you stay cold all the time? I don't know.
Yeah, probably.
But she very, very small. And her backup singers had to prompt her to remember to sing the songs. Her voice was great.
She's just got a voice like an angel,
she
for
does.
sure.
So there were people sitting next to me, behind me, and they said, oh my God, that's a shame. She's still working. They got her out here still working. Clearly she's sick. And I said, well, listen, you had Glenn Campbell, you had Bobby Womack, you've had quite a few people.
I saw Glenn Campbell in 2012 in January at the Ann Arbor Folk Festival. He had Alzheimer's already, and he was playing with his children, and he was, did the Rhinestone Cowboy, all that stuff, and he did great, but his kids were kind of guiding him, but there was no interruptions or anything like that. But he had Alzheimer's already, and so people want to be viable. I think some people think you're older, you're like, hey, go to the old folks home and get out of our way, make room. But there's still people trying to. I mean, sometimes people go too long, and we see that in sports sometimes, and we see it in other entertainment. But
this is, you know what? So my position is this. So these people are talking now. We're supposed to be enjoying the concert. Here I go with my commentary.
Oh, now you got another outrage. You only get one.
No, my commentary. I said, listen, whether she has dementia or not, they say that music is really helpful for people who have dementia. My mother-in-law, yes, I'm divorced, but she's still my mother-in-law, actually. When I would go to visit her, she was a wonderful singer. When I play gospel music for her, she would light up and she would remember the words to the song. So maybe this helps give her life. So I'm not going to sit here and say, she shouldn't. My mother-in-law, yeah. I'm not going to sit here and say that Gladys should not be standing there performing. If this is something that she loves to do, that she wants to do, that her caregivers, doctors, or whatever say, hey, go ahead and do it. I had no problem with that. I actually enjoyed those four women. Gladys is 80. Patti LaBelle is 80. Yeah. Patti LaBelle is very funny. She actually did a wardrobe change.
Yeah, Patti LaBelle's a little different. I'll just say that. She's a little different. Patti LaBelle thinks the whole world revolves around Patti LaBelle. So, but that's okay. I guess she can get away with it.
Well, she shared the stage with
I saw Diana Ross at the train station concert.
Did you?
Which she sang not
You
my
should sing,
not my
"I'm
favorite.
coming
Yeah,
up."
yeah. Which is
Are we
not,
boring
I
our
want
friends
the
out here?
world
not my
to know.
not it wasn't my
Got
favorite
to let it
Supreme
show.
song, but I did also meet at when Crane's Detroit Business had this reunion for expats of Detroit. They had it at the train station before the train station was open. This was 2017, and Mary Wilson was there. I posed for a picture with her, and she was very sweet.
I hear
Very,
she's a great
I heard
musician.
she was
she was a very nice
vibrant
woman.
singer up
Yeah,
until the
she
end.
was
that
great.
She was very, so
And I just wanted just quickly to tell our friends out there, if you don't know who Glenn Campbell is a country artist.
it's
Absolutely
the
not.
last of
Glenn Campbell is one of the
time.
greatest guitarists of all time. If you listen to his guitar work, you would be shocked
Yeah.
how great of a guitarist
Yeah,
that
no
Glenn
question.
Campbell was.
And so was Bobby Womack. Hey, let's talk about guitarists. Bobby Womack was
Okay.
not only a great guitarist, he was a great composer. He wrote a lot of music, and he was a great performer. And he had a whole lot of controversy. I mean, married his best friend's wife, but he went to the funeral with his best friend's suit on.
Right.
And then
Oops.
he divorced her. Well, they divorced, and he married the best friend's daughter. That would be Sam Cooke. Did you guys know that?
I did not know that.
Wow.
Controversy.
Wow.
So can I do my outrage?
Sure.
Is it too early?
No.
I'm going to read a quote, and I want you guys to think about it, and I want our viewers to think about it. You'll know, some people will know this immediately. I don't know if you will or not. Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. And I thought about that this morning. You know who that is? The late, great Bob Marley. It's the Redemption song.
Okay,
All right.
okay,
The Redemption
okay.
song is an amazing piece of work. The reason I bring that up is, we talk and we argue. We care about each other. We care about all of you guys out there. We don't always agree. We all want the same thing. We have different ways of looking at how to accomplish that. So, we had a lot of discussion, and I don't want to get into a specific topic, gun control. We talked about I'm tired of listening to myself talk about it. We all want the same thing. We all just have struggles on how we can get there. But I'm going to ask everybody that's watching, I'm going to ask our friends here, Vanessa and Allan and Teresa and everybody, to do this. All right. Untether yourself from your programming. Just for 15 minutes, untether yourself from your programming, how you've been. And that's why I talked about my family and my dad. And we talked about being a liberal when I grew up. We talk about, my dad was against military spending. He was for helping people. He was for the unions. He was pro-choice, all the typical liberal things that I grew up with, that I believe in about 75% of that stuff still. So untether yourself. So I'm going to tell you a little quick story. I'm going to try and get through it quickly. 3 years ago, a guy came to me, he was running for office in Wayne County. He said, I want you to help me. I have a position for you. All right.
Yeah.
I said two things. You can't win, and I'm not looking for a job. All right. Those are the two things I told him the day I met him. I didn't know him. Right. And he ran for county office, and predictably, he got smoked. We knew he was going to lose. He didn't know he was going to lose. And most of the team that was there thought he was going to win. I was like, you have no chance. I was honest with him. The day after.
What was he running for?
I don't really want to say because I'm kind of embarrassed by the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't completely, I guess, given the complete facts. But I helped him. I volunteered and helped him. The day after the primary, it was August. The day after, I received a phone call from a friend of mine who I've known for 25 years. He and I agree on few things politically. He ran for state representative as a Republican. I'll give you two examples, right?
Yeah.
He ran before, and he was supported by the Michigan Right to Life. All right. And I met with those people, and I had absolutely nothing in common with those folks. All right. We want to talk about people that have no flexibility at all, no bend, no break, no nothing, right? And I have a friend that's a part of that group, all right? They're just not me, all right? And the candidate also, his brother, his family, traditional insurance company, an insurance company. And as a motorcyclist, I was outraged with what the governor's new law, a motorcycle for catastrophic injury, did to some of our residents of this whole area, right? They threw people out and said too bad. You had a catastrophic injury. We have limits on your insurance. So my point is, he ran as a Republican, right? And he asked for my help. We need to untether ourselves from this, all this or all that. And we've been talking about it for weeks. I don't understand why you can't be pro-choice. And we say some things, and we all do when we're losing an argument or fighting an argument. You're not against babies if you're pro-choice. You're for women's rights to make choices about their own lives. So I'm gonna use that topic. Let's let people decide what's right and what's wrong for them. Let's not let the government do it.
Well, with that, we're going to go to a break, and then we'll come back to Detroit in Black and White.
Homeownership opportunities are rising in the city of Detroit, and there's a house out there that's right for you and your family. You don't even have to worry about credit or getting a loan. You can win a house for as little as $1,000 and pay for the renovation cost as you go. It all starts at buildingdetroit.org and the Detroit Land Bank Authority. Our auction and Own It Now programs offer a variety of houses and neighborhoods all over the city of Detroit. These homes are in desperate need of repair and new ownership. You can begin by going to our interactive map and detailed property listings to find the right fit for you. It won't be easy, and renovation costs are not cheap, but our compliance team is there every step of the way. We will help you track your progress and connect you with local discounts to save you more money. We have already sold more than 15,000 homes in the city of Detroit, and our inventory is shrinking fast, so you don't want to miss out on this wonderful opportunity. Start your home buying journey today by visiting buildingdetroit.org. Homeowners.
We're back, Detroit in Black and White, our Saturday morning's edition. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for commenting. Like, subscribe, and share. You can catch us on all social media platforms. You can catch us every Wednesday and Friday evening from 8:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. and every Saturday morning from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. So we were talking while we're on break. You want to bring up the subject, or you want me to bring it up?
You can bring it up.
So,
Here's
listen.
making me smile, but go ahead.
Listen, I'm going to ask you guys something. Did you guys watch New Era Detroit? And the reason I brought this up is because last night Marlon Holt asked about New Era, and he was basically talking about, asked about them, I think, because there was some kind, we were talking about guns, and we were talking about the Black Panther Party, and that kind of thing. And he's talking about New Era Detroit, which is an organization that, does a lot of things in the neighborhood, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So when he said that last night, I thought about the interview on YouTube. I actually watched the interview on YouTube.
I watched a little bit.
I'm going to watch, I'm going to watch it again, but it was a very, very interesting interview.
With Kwame Kilpatrick.
With Kwame Kilpatrick and the guy from New Era Detroit. The former mayor talked about how, one, you should give credit where credit is due. He said a lot of things that was put in place was because of his predecessors, some things that they did, when you talk about the growth of downtown Detroit, some of those things were put into place before he got into office. He also indicated that he was sorry, which was shocking to me. He was sorry about, what happened with Christine Beatty. He talked about sorry in terms of, people looking at her the way that they looked at her. I think he even said, and I'm going to go back and watch, but I was watching it and multitasking. Mm-hmm. But I think he said something about, she was, the kind of lady who kept her virginity until, she got married. She was one of those kind of women. I thought that was really interesting.
What a smart lady that
why
got
are you even
sucked
talking
in
about that? But he also said, I'm glad you said that, Willis Smart. He said, I don't owe any money. I've never stolen money. I've never been a criminal. I mean, he went on and on about how this whole thing was constructed because they want to separate him from the people. So,
as somebody who covered that trial,
will you address G Money Hollywood there, Allan?
I think Detroit has asked me to show it.
He said, showed him no mercy as a mayor. They lied on him about deceiving the city. at G Money, I'm
all right.
telling you, that's exactly what he said. That
Yeah, well,
it was
Let
an
Allan
assault on
cover
the
the
media.
story.
look,
That's what he said.
I'm friendly with Kwame, and you know, he's a very charismatic guy. I like him, but I covered that trial. One, there were people who testified that they bribed him, that they delivered bribes, like $10,000 bribes. The thing is, you know, when you say you don't owe the money, I mean, there's a reason that we have a bidding process in the city of Detroit, and you have, you know, it's not always, every project doesn't necessarily go to the cheapest bidder, but you also want to have the best person, you know, whether it's constructing sewers or whether it's raising buildings or whatever, you want to have the best. But there is a bidding process, and he was accused of and convicted of rigging bids to help his friend Bobby Ferguson. He had, I think, $800,000, Kwame, in his bank account that was unaccounted for, that the IRS could not account for. And so the question is, did he steal money? He didn't steal money, but is there, you know, the government doesn't draw a distinction when you have a bid and you end up paying more for the bid to help your friend, and it costs the city more, then it costs the city more because you have, you know, and the allegation was that he was getting a piece of the action. And so, you know, I think it's,
and it's been adjudicated. I mean, it's decided. You don't fight.
And the jury was, you know, I mean, look, the jury was split. I mean, it was, I think there were six, maybe, I can't remember, it was 6 people of color on the jury and 5 whites, or I mean, there's a 12 jury. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was. I sat through the whole trial, and I thought the trial was, you know, you have to determine whether people are
So it was even-handed.
credible.
I
thought it was even-handed. I thought, and I'll tell you, you know, here's an interesting thing: is that I wrote a story in 2018. I wrote a column 5 years after he was convicted, and I wrote a column. I said he was guilty of what he was convicted, but the 28-year sentence was ridiculous. And I still think that today. And I think there were judges, you know, in federal court, when you have a big case like that, the federal judges get together privately and discuss the sentencing. And I know there were some federal judges who were opposed to that 28-year
punishment.
And to be honest, I think Judge Edmonds, who did it, I think she had some second thoughts after. But I wrote a column saying, and the headline was 5 years later, whatever, Kwame's sentence is still ridiculous. He was in prison at the time. And I talked to him afterwards when he got released, and he, you know, I called him right after he got out of prison. He started laughing. He goes, "Oh man," he goes, "I was going to call you." He says, "You wrote that column," and he says, "I was not reading anything from Detroit anymore. And my sister talked to me on the phone and said, you've got to read this column in Deadline Detroit." And he said, "No, I don't want to read it." I said, "No, you have to read it." And so he said that column went to the White House. Jared Kushner and different people read it. And he said it opened people's hearts to say, this guy is not really on my side, and he is saying that the sentence is ridiculous. And he said there were other people, and he said, I mean, there were a lot of other people who had hands in helping.
So let me say this.
Yes.
The whole interview, what he did was he blamed the media for his demise. He said the media from day one was after him. They talked about the earrings. They talked about, you know, he's even said that story, the urban legend about Strawberry was an urban legend. He says he wasn't even living in the Manugian mansion. So I'm going to encourage everybody to watch that interview, because he talked about everything. He even talked about his kids and the impact of him having to go to prison. But before he even went to prison, he had to have a talk with his children about the story breaking, about the text messages and things like that, and how his sons, you know, after
they were mad at him.
He talked about that. So if you go and watch the interview, and I'm going to watch it again, it's quite interesting. But we have some viewers on here.
Before you get to that, viewers, and I see you all out there. I see you, G Money. I see you, Willis, Mr. 1213. We see you guys. Jay, thank you, Jay. Mr. Duckett, thank you. Vanessa's going to cover those, but I think everyone should make a notation. Everybody that's watching today should make a notation because Allan Lengel agreed with the President of the United States, Donald Trump, in releasing Kwame Kilpatrick. So I want everybody to note the date and time. And go. Let's talk to our friends out there.
So our friends out there, I'm going to start with Willis Martin says Kwame is a victim. He has these smiley faces. Miss Sheila, she said her family's trying to watch the show on TV. What's up on the
We see you, Miss Sheila. We see you and your family.
We see you.
Was that? Let's.
Detroit mass media showed him no mercy as mayor. They lied to him about deceiving the city, and basically that is what he says.
I disagree. I
Kashmir,
disagree with that.
Yeah, Kashmir Martin says, all of you look exceptional. Do you have stylists now?
She made me smile.
So right. Karen says, as long as you agree to disagree, that's fine. Go up.
Keep going. Okay.
No, go
the other way.
The other way.
Good morning, Mr. Duckett. Marlin. The scandal is legendary. Glenn Campbell was instrumental in Lionel Richie's success. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Miss Sheila, glad we're independent thinkers. Go ahead.
Yeah. Deborah Harris says, keep living. You'll get slower in all aspects. Girl, ain't that the truth? Dewayla says, which I thought was funny. She said, as you all stated, we can agree to disagree. He did everything he was accused of.
Thank you.
Karen Winston says, meanwhile, Sheffield gets free Jeezy tickets. Timothy Squire Bay says a lot of people are afraid of change. They are so used to living a certain, maybe because they were told or taught that there was a child and didn't disobey their parents. I don't understand that one.
He wants us to be revolutionaries.
Okay.
I think. Thank you, Timothy.
I'm sorry.
He wants us to stand up for change, is what he's talking about.
Taylor May says contract steering, Allan. He says Taylor May says contract steering happens everywhere. Karen says, Winston says, Duggan admitted to steering demolition contracts, yet he claims to be a savior of Detroit combat.
And he was very cozy with that young lady, wasn't it? It's now his wife.
Right.
But I'll say something about the Duggan steering, is that the distinction is, at least in terms of, Duggan was investigated and stuff. I think this is my read on it, and anyone can correct me if I'm wrong, is that Duggan wanted to expedite the demolitions because there's still not all torn down. And so you had all these tiny little construction companies that did demolitions. And instead of doing like 20 contracts, he just wanted the big 3 with all the equipment and stuff to get in. And here you've got 20 here and 20 there. The difference is there was no evidence, and they investigated. There was no evidence that Duggan was profiting from that. He was just, he violated some of the city procedures in the way they did the bidding and stuff like that. So yes, there was some wrongdoing there, but he didn't pocket any money. And the difference is the allegations are that Kwame pocketed money. During the trial, another thing that came out, and maybe this is typical in politics, and you guys can tell me, is that for Christmas time, the top staff people had to give Kwame like a I can't remember. I think it was $2,000 Christmas gift. Then the lower level people testified that they had to give like $500 for Kwame for a Christmas gift. I mean, it was kind of like the mob, where you pay tributes to the boss. And the other thing was that Kwame's father was a consultant, and due to the laws that are very vague on consulting, his father was a consultant. The word was, I talked to an attorney who said, he was charging up to $10,000 to get a sit down with Kwame, for business people and stuff like that. He was. You mean
like Trump?
Yeah, he was indicted in the RICO conspiracy, but they couldn't prove that it was a conspiracy. They say, hey, I'm a consultant. That's what we do. You pay us and we get you access. And so Kwame's father only got convicted on the tax evasion charges, but not on the RICO case. But Kwame, and Kwame's father was heartbroken, that his son was seeing his son go away for all those years.
But I'll ask you and our viewers, our friends out here, that we see you too. Wouldn't we be naive to think that that's not going on in campaigns all over the country?
yeah,
that people are
absolutely.
giving 5 or 10 grand,
Right.
and they're spending it on a trip to
More.
Palm Springs.
More, you can get it. You can.
I'm just-
I mean, we have laws that I think is what $8,000 that you can contribute to
Yeah.
somebody.
Yeah.
But the PACs allow
Exactly.
you can give $1 million. You can give $5 million. You know,
Yes.
which the
So I guess my question to you is do you think if you're in the staff of a county executive in Macomb County, and you're not giving money to Mark Hackle so that he can go on a golf trip and use his campaign funds? We know that's going on, right? It's
Right,
going on
sure.
everywhere. Kwame may have stepped out of bounds, but what he did is probably not as unusual.
well, you know
Maybe-
what? He saw it as business as usual. I mean, that's why when he says I didn't do anything wrong, I think he believes it, because that's the environment that, I mean, his father Bernard was over at, working for Ed McNamara, and that's the big machinery there, and there was a lot of money being tossed
Really, you
around.
think so? Under a
Listen,
McNamara?
Yeah.
Listen, Deborah G said Kwame put a lot of Black people out of business. Miss Sheila says people said there was a bachelor party. Stop lying. That means she doesn't believe him. G Money Hollywood says he also talked about the next mayor will be under a lot of fire by crime and share the heat with the police chief, unlike the current mayor, who is now under the microscope of crime.
I think that's accurate.
But listen, I know there are people who's like, I don't want to hear nothing that comes out of his mouth. I know I'm one of those people like, how can you believe anything that, I'm not saying he's a liar. I'm just saying a liar.
Who are you
I
talking
can
about?
believe a liar. But there are people who are saying that they don't believe nothing that he says. And I think that if you
talking
watch
about Kwame?
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that if you watch the interview, I found the interview to be not only interesting but very compelling, and there I was able to.
She's
I was
falling under the spell of Kwame Kilpatrick.
No. I was able to say, okay, that's cap. Okay, that's probably true. That's cap, and that's probably true. If you sit there and listen, I think it's also interesting that he comes out. They come out with this interview right before the mayor election, right? And right after there was some article while I was out of the country about the feds targeting him about this
people around
him about this money. I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah. I think it's interesting when I interviewed him. I was the first person to interview him after he got out of prison, and we had a long interview. And I said, "Well, will you admit that you did something wrong?"
Thanks, Jay.
Will you admit that you're doing something wrong? And he said, "Look, yes." He goes, "Look, I cheated on my wife, essentially. My children were really angry at me and stuff like that." But I said, "Well, what about the other things you were convicted of?" Well, and then he said, "Look, I don't want to get into that because that'll be the story. My story is about redemption, about a second chance." And he says, if I start talking about all that stuff, that becomes the story. And so at that time, but then I saw later on the Today Show, he went on and said I did nothing wrong and stuff like that. And I think, and then I do remember I've watched some of his, he has the movemental ministry where he talked about specifically about Black men. He said there are Black men in Detroit who won't take responsibility for what they've done, and they've got to, come up and, and say that. And I thought, you still need to come clean on some of the things, happening here. And I feel like he hasn't totally come clean on all that.
I think
stuff.
we all know somebody like Kwame. I know somebody like Kwame Kilpatrick who believes.
And I like Kwame. I think Kwame, he's a very bright guy.
Did you go to his church?
Did I go to his church?
Would you go?
Would I go? Me
Yeah.
and the movemental?
Yes.
I don't know. I out of interest, I've seen his ministry online.
Mhm.
I don't know if he's still doing it, but for a while, he lives out in Novi now.
Mhm.
And every Saturday at 3 p.m. at the library, I don't know what his arrangement was, but he had a talk, at the Novi Library, which I think is interesting. And let me ask you this: what do you think about the mayor of Detroit living in Novi, the former mayor of Detroit living in Novi?
How do I feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, is that who cares? Or
For me, I could care less. If he lived in Texas, Florida, Atlanta, Novi.
Good morning, Hazel
It
Park.
doesn't matter.
We need to get back to our
Doesn't matter.
friends here. I'll put them on the screen.
Right.
Can I do that? And you can cover them, Vanessa?
Half truth, still deceitful. The truth can't be negotiated. Thank you. Robert Morris for child molestation. The cases are different in nature.
Good morning, Hazel Park.
Yeah.
Sean Combs.
Sean Combs was sentenced to over 4 years in prison, not 5 for federal prostitution. Willis Martin Kwame clean as the driven star. Dwayla says he could have been a great mayor, but he wanted to be hip hop. And you know what? He talked about that in his interview. And the other thing that he talked about, which is true, one of the things that he said was that his mother suffered her political career tanked as a result of what went on with him. And I would agree. I would think, and I've said this when we were on the radio. I thought that Carolyn Cheeks Kilpatrick was really great in her job as our congresswoman. She brought money back to Detroit. She really, really worked hard. And the fact that people said, you know what, that's your son, we don't like you, and we don't like him, I think that is really sad. And I do believe that that was very, very hurtful. Who wants to see their mom hurt like that, or their mom's career to tank like that? So I think he was being honest about that. But like I said,
tragic.
some of that stuff he said, I was like, okay, that's cap. And I'm sorry, I just do. But some of the things that he said, I believe was very valid. So I'm not one of those people who said,
I'm
just
rooting
because
for him.
I don't want to hear nothing you have to say. I'll listen, and I get to determine what I believe and what I don't believe.
Right.
So
I'm rooting. I mean, I'm rooting for him, and I've told him this. I'm rooting for you to do well, but we also want credibility, and you have to be forthright, and not BS people.
Oh yeah, Mr. Duckett says he thinks that Deadline, and I agree, Deadline or any of the other media should do a story on what Mary Sheffield knew or what she know, and when did she know about the Riverfront Conservancy and the.
Hello, Mr. Duckett. Thanks for checking in with us. We always appreciate you.
She worked with people that attended the party. It's possible that the party was like a setup, but it happened. So he says that there was no doggone party. And so he said that, everybody is saying, well, I know somebody who was at the party. He even talked about how he was in the barbershop and people were talking about the party. It's just ridiculous. He said there was no party. I talked to somebody last night and she was like, Vanessa, there was a party. Listen, I don't know if it was a party or not. The fact of the matter is, you had Michael Cox, who spent a whole lot of money, and they investigated. It said, our money, absolutely our money, and said that there was no party. And I feel like there was bigger fish to fry. If there was a party, okay, fine. If you had strippers at the house, okay, fine. I mean, that's how I look at it. If you had, the bigger question is whether or not if there was a party, if this person was assaulted, and as a result, knowing too much, because the streets are saying that this young lady was murdered as a result. And I'm like, how do you connect that? If you're a stripper, if you're out there dancing, you meet all kinds of people. Trust me, I know. Not because I used to dance.
Wow. I think that leads to the next point.
I have a friend who I used to go to parties all the time when we were young, and
at the Manugian?
No, he'd go to parties and he'd always tell women.
At the Gentleman's Club?
He would try, and he would tell a woman, he'd be talking to her, just meet her, and they start talking, and he goes, yeah, my father was a dancer. And they go, really? He goes, yeah, he died dancing at the end of a rope.
Oh, well.
And they would be like,
no, that's terrible.
He didn't do well with that line.
Oh,
yeah, I would have guessed not. G Money Hollywood recognizes, and I did not see the interview, that the worst thing that Kwame did was cost his mother her career. And I think that's tragic because she's forever linked to him. Mm-hmm. And this is my favorite post of the day.
Gay recognized gay, Vanessa.
Taylor May.
But you know what I always say, Taylor May? I also always say Slick recognizes Slick as well.
So maybe he recognized you. Maybe Taylor may recognize you. Kwame had sociopathic tendencies, like
all-
like most of them. At least today, Jay, it's become very common.
and
Now Kwame's a man of God. Willis Martin, thank you. So we have to respect that. Nothing will change my mind, Dwelia. Thank you. Dwelia, thank you. I'm trying.
Dweila.
Dweila.
Right, you got it.
It
I'm
says
sorry,
Say
Dweila.
it 5
Dweila.
times.
It looks like it's not
Dweila.
Dweila. It's DW.
Her name.
Dwe-
Listen.
Do you know her?
Dweila.
Absolutely.
My apologies,
That's a very
Dweila.
good friend of mine. That
Oh,
is her
yeah,
name.
I don't know why I
Dweila.
struggle with it.
Dweila.
Dweila.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry,
It looks
Dweila.
like
How
Dweila.
she listen?
Dweila.
Dweila, how
I
you
sh-
gonna tell me how to pronounce your
I
name?
yes,
I-
okay.
I-
If you
I-
know her, then you know her.
I just struggle with it. I'm sorry, Dweila.
You're not the only one. Listen, we need to take a break and then we'll come back to Detroit Black and White.
Nearly 30,000 vacant lots all over the city of Detroit are for sale right now. That's right, nearly 30,000 vacant lots are available now, starting at just $100. The lot next to your house or the lot down the street. Make it yours today in just a few simple clicks. Find out if it is available by visiting buildingdetroit.org. At the Detroit Land Bank Authority, side lots are just $100 and neighborhood lots sell for $250. You can apply and pay online today by visiting buildingdetroit.org. And if you don't see the lot you're looking for, call our offices. Our phone number is 313-974-6869. Again, that is 313-974-6869.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County Treasurer. If you're living in the home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, the probate process can be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
All right.
Listen, Dweila, we're having a conversation.
Dweila, we're talking about you. Thank you. We can see you.
Hey,
And
I've got to say this. So, Allan says he went to school with the guy named Dwayne.
Dwayne. And
And
it
he
says
said,
Dwayne.
he said everybody called him Dwayne. I said, everybody. I said, you talking about the black people? He said, yeah. Listen, I know my people. Dwayne.
FBA, thank you. That's very positive. MZ Suzuki. I don't know if you're joking or you're serious. But yeah, that was.
I'm saying he. I don't know.
Yeah,
Suzuki is
MZ
telling you,
Suzuki.
right. I thought all of them had been mentored by McNamara. I did too. All of them.
Well, Duggan.
That's how lobbyists make a living.
Bernard.
That's a fact.
Jennifer
Jennifer
Grant,
right.
all of them.
McNamara was a politician. He was a big politician.
Dweila remembers that he was crooked, and my mother told me her pension was affected by his foolery, and that's really an unfortunate effect that happened in Detroit. And we've talked about that, Karen Winston, and how people are shortchanged. That a promise was made on a pension, and a promise should be kept, whether it's the Detroit News or whether it's the city of Detroit, and so many private companies, abandoned their pensions. And Haley Stevens talked about that a little bit when she was on the show.
Well, Joe Biden, helped a lot of the union pensions. They made sure they were funded for a long, long time.
Yes.
So.
And funded PBGC is what it is, the Pension Benefit Guarantee Corp, which is a government agency that has saved thousands of people downriver where I'm from. McLeod Steel stepped in. They didn't get their whole pension, but they got something. Right?
But, it's interesting when people, we've talked about on the show where people say it's coming due, the taxes and everything and the pensions are coming due. And Duggan addressed it, and he claims that there's enough money to cover what's coming due coming up. But
there's nothing more important than taking care of the people that dedicated their life to your community and then abandoning them. That's out. You want to talk about outrageous? That should never happen.
Okay, so you said that he says that. Do you believe that? Did you listen to his his state of the city address, his last address, and he said the city should be solvent.
Right.
Should be solvent.
Right.
Should be
Do I
solvent.
believe it?
Should be
to be
solvent
honest, I haven't
for
looked.
the
I
next
haven't
5 years.
studied the budget enough to say yes or no.
Yeah,
but,
I'm
mean,
sorry. I believe it when I see it.
okay,
I believe it
well,
when I see it. And speaking of
There's
Doug,
Deborah.
he's done a lot of positive things, but he's done things, go around the look, I want to get this done. I'm going to not do it the right way. I'm going to do it the wrong way. You talked about the demolition. Let's talk about how you cut off Woodward right here at Jefferson. You didn't run that by city council or anything. You just said you wanted to get done, and you did it. Let's talk about this off ramp.
Are you sure that wasn't approved?
I'm positive it was. Well, listen. If I believe the media, yeah, that's what was done. Now,
Yeah.
I'll make a choice as to whether or not I want to believe the media. I want to believe the media in that sense.
Yeah. Well,
When you talk
that's
about that
reported.
off of I-75, I mean, that was a backroom deal. Listen, he is a guy who says, I want to get things done. I want to see it done. And however we can get it done, we'll get it done. If I just run just shy of the other side, that's fine. At least I didn't break the law. But I agree with you guys when you say that aren't all politicians,
I just want to go ahead, Allan. I want to talk about Deborah's comment when you're done.
No, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say, Deborah said Kwame is a narcissist. He did everything he could to stop buses from becoming ADA compliant and cost the city a lot of money. So when we talk about ADA, my mother was physically challenged. She had MS. People struggle in their lives, and this is where government needs to act to do something like that, to take care of our people that are less fortunate, whether physically challenged or not, and that's tragic that any government wouldn't make buses or Hart Plaza or I know they're private, the Fox Theater accessible for people that have physical challenges.
Absolutely. I'll say I wanted to say something that in Deadline Detroit for a while, when Charlie LaDuff was a columnist for quite a while, for 4 years, he kept writing that the feds are looking at Duggan, which they were at some point. And then he kept writing that indictments are around the corner. And I was at a party and I ran into a federal source and I said, "What's up?" I said, is Duggan going to get indicted? And he said no. He says, "Look, he skipped some steps here and there." He says, "But we have no evidence he's putting any money in his pocket." And I think that's, I think Duggan made a lot of money at the DMC. I think he's made a lot of money over time. I don't think money is his thing. Power is his thing. Currency for whatever. With Kwame, I think it was power and money. With Duggan, I just think it's power, and that's just from what I can see. I could be proven wrong, but
Yeah. Ms. Suzuki says they think that Dan Gilbert had to say about cutting off Woodward. I think it was Karen Winston who said that even former Councilwoman Brenda Jones questioned. Let me see what she said.
I'm looking for it. There it is.
She says Brenda Jones was council president. Even she inquired about who approved the closing of Woodward and Jefferson. Hey,
Dorian.
Dorian, I want to address him. He said, "Good morning, fellas." He don't see a woman sitting here in the middle between
Dorian's.
Dorian,
Dorian's.
you just don't like the ladies. You just don't like me.
I think
what?
that's just a generic
So,
expression.
I'm not no.
You got to leave Dorian alone. I defend Dorian to the end.
No, I'm not defending Dorian. Good morning, Dorian. Deborah says, "I used to like Kwame, but he was too cunning for me in all his ways."
Well, we have one of our panelists here, one of our moderators that seems to be falling under the Kwame spell.
Anyway, says Kwame is a smart person who was portrayed to be hip hop, but deep down he really wasn't. The mass media projected his flair and confidence in the wrong context and really did give him a bad rap. Now, he did say that he did some messed up stuff in the interview as well. So again, you guys haven't watched it. Take a little time and
I like
watch the
to
interview.
see it.
I am going to watch because I'd like to write about it.
Yeah.
The deadline.
Timothy Squire Bay says, let's not forget how Duggan took taxpayer money and said, get over it, and how he cheated on his wife. Okay.
I have a question. Back in the day, that used to be an issue whether you were having an affair or whatever. But I think Trump desensitized.
Here we go. It's all about Trump.
I'm just saying that I think he desensitized that it's not an issue anymore.
He's had a bunch of wives, hasn't he?
I don't think
And he cheated on every single one of his wives.
It's all their fault.
I
think it's all their fault.
But I don't think that's true. I think it depends on who the individual is. We had someone
who
ran for mayor not too long ago, and I heard people in certain circles saying, you know what, I wouldn't vote for him. I don't care how great he is, how good person. I don't care how much experience he has. He had he buried the person that, he was cheating on his wife with. Whether he was or not, I don't know. But there are people in the community who still feels that kind of way. There are people who said that about the current mayor. It's like, he's, cheating on his wife, was with this other lady, whatever. But I think it depends on the person.
Well, I think when Bill Clinton was having, the Monica Lewinsky scandal, that was a big deal. And so George Bush came in with family values and said,
who did?
George W. Bush said family.
So he said he didn't get sloppy.
I want to go back to our friends.
Well, let me just
he basically said, I didn't get it in the White House. That's all he said. He said, I get it, but I don't get it in the White House. I'm sorry.
But then, Obama, seemed very, straight-laced in terms of being a family man and stuff like that. But then Trump came in, and I think the Republicans couldn't say family values for a man who said, I like to grab him by the pussy. That kind of lowers.
But that didn't change anything in the election. Isn't that interesting?
People didn't care.
Yeah, they
didn't care.
Jay, I was just telling a joke. Actually, I hope you didn't take me literally. But let's cover a couple of these points because we're wrapping up here. Yeah. What did I miss? Miss Sheila, great contributor to the show. People say these fake organizations praying homeless and disabled people to receive funding. Yeah, they're getting money, aren't they, Miss Sheila? And they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. Deborah, this is a big old lie. He is everything they said. He is everything they said and more. Thank you, Deborah, for your contribution and your honesty. Shank 228, Democrats destroyed Detroit since 1968.
Interesting. I don't agree, but go ahead.
Karen Winston, adulterer. Sorry, Jim. No, I was kidding about Donald Trump. I was joking to say that all there has that's your friend that's been married 5 times and he comes to you and says, I don't know what's wrong with my wife. That's kind of what I was joking about. Maybe it's you if you've been married 5 times. Could be you. I can't stand white liberals. As Malcolm X was right about this group, you all are toxic. Thank you for your comment.
I said that basically last night, but I don't hate liberals.
So that's why,
I don't. Liberal shouldn't be a dirty word.
I don't think it's a dirty word.
Some people use it as a dirty word.
I think
I would be classified as a liberal.
So,
and I don't see why.
I think Shaq's talking about fake liberals and people that are just, acting like they're the do-gooders.
I would agree with everything she says. But I don't have to agree with if you're a liberal, I'm a liberal. I don't have to agree with everything you say, but to me, I see it as a positive connotation. Some people, libtard and all these that's very
that's all good, clean fun.
Woke and all these would become derogatory terms, which were at one time positive. But I see liberal, conservative. Conservative isn't a dirty word either. But
I think Shank's telling you just to be yourself and not be a fake liberal or a fake anything. I think that's what he's saying. Get down to.
I mean,
I understand his point.
You want
completely.
to appreciate the truth. What the truth is, the truth.
There he goes. Thank you for your comment, Shank. We appreciate it. Malcolm X was right. Kenneth Powell.
Salute 100 to all the guys and goddesses. Stay dangerous.
Jay's having a little conversation. Stay in the suburbs, Shank. Thank you, Jay. He can disagree, but those are the facts. Democrat cities are trash. Okay, let's move on. Thank you for the comment. We're in an interview. Had to stop listening to BS to look better today. No, thank you. I can't see that. My eyes are too old. What is that?
She said
We see
she
the interview.
and she said she had to stop listening to BS.
By the way, there are cities that have problems like Miami and other cities. I think Tulsa that I have Republican mayors as well. So it's just it's just bullshit.
Shanks from Hell's Kitchen.
To say there are good mayors and bad mayors. We've seen that in the city of Detroit. It doesn't matter. You're Democrat or whatever. It's like, it's like John James is a Republican. Do we think he's a great Congress member? There are some good Republican Congress members, but it's sometimes the party thing is just used as just a divisive way.
I agree.
It is very divisive. But with that being said, listen, we have to go. We want you guys to enjoy this weekend. We thank you so much for joining us on Detroit in Black and White. We want you to come back on Wednesday and Friday, 8:30 to 9:30 p.m. and next Saturday. Also, watch Detroit in Black and White presents Reality Strikes on Monday evening at 8:30 p.m. Thank you. You all have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. We'll be back next week, and I think we're going to have a couple of guests next week.
And the show is good because of them. This show today was good because of all of you.
Yep.